The first hurdle is acknowledging that if you have not been doing adequate maintenance all along, that time is a requirement, not an option. The second is being honest with yourself about what you really want and what you're really willing to give or do to get it. So if you don't have time to stop and do reparative work down the line, then you build the time in making better decisions now. The number one component in this instance is not action, it's choice.
Wait, what? How does that even make sense?
Passionate public service announcement. Passionate. Let me tell you something. So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion, no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionates, newcomers, visitors, and guests. We made it. This is the season finale of the Passion PSA podcast, where I, Passion No Last Necessary, your Get You Right Guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I've observed or was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, aid you in becoming a better version of yourself, for yourself, and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel. Same way I won't sugarcoat the truth to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self. If you are new here, affirmations are our first order of business so we can intentionally raise the vibration and start on one accord. Let's get on the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead and take a deep breath. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. I am standing tall. I am standing firm. I am winning. I am victorious. I allow myself the time I need for my greatest success. I allow myself the time I need for proper maintenance. I am important. I am necessary. I am my responsibility. I am my priority. I am well. It is well. All is well. Well is all. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Before we get into it, I gotta say thank you for riding with me until the end. Thank you for being patient when there were delays. Thank you for going through the things with me. The ride was a little bumpy, but for a restart after a year of silence and starting where we did, I'm still grateful for how it all turned out. So kudos to all of us. That said, 3 to 6 iterations later, because I'm fairly certain this final draft is version 5 or 6, I actually started composing this in May, shortly after I started my detox that I'm fairly certain we discussed, or I at least mentioned before. That was right around the M&T debacle. But I'm sure that releasing it now is divine timing because, affirm with me if you will, everything always works out for me. And life is always happening in my favor. That is my current favorite affirmation. So to sign off the season, we're going to analyze a word that we use often, probably every day. But when I looked up the definition, I was totally shocked. And it sent me into, of course, my usual deeper dive. If you are a longtime passionate, you know I'm big on not just vocabulary usage, but comprehension. Now, for the newbies that don't understand how vocabulary ties into life coaching and self-correction, I want that when we walk away from an episode, we have an accurate understanding of what words actually mean as opposed to our assumptions, even if it's a common word that we're all familiar with, so that when we speak about ourselves, our feelings, our intentions, We're speaking in truth and accuracy. After this word study, we'll discuss a specific resource and what we can do to more effectively use the resource for best results. So the word of the day is care. What a dictionary definition. That's what passion takes action towards show your vocab is expanded. If you know the word is cool. So care as a noun is defined first, which I find interesting, as suffering of mind, i.e. grief. And we could really stop right there. But for full disclosure, let's continue. Second, a disquieted state of mixed uncertainty, apprehension, and responsibility. Also, something that causes such a stay, a particular worry, concern, etc. The simplified version of that definition is a bug of worry and stress. Definition 2b, a cause for such anxiety. 3a, painstaking or watchful attention. 3b, maintenance. 4, regard coming from desire or esteem. 5, charge, supervision. 6, a person or thing that is an object of attention, anxiety, or solitude. As an intransitive verb, which is a verb type that doesn't require a subject. 1a, to feel trouble or anxiety, cared for his safety. 1b, to feel interest or concern, care about freedom. 2, to give care, like to care for the sick. 3, to have a liking, fondness, or taste, don't care for your attitude. 3b, to have an inclination, would you care for some pie? And finally, as a transitive verb, to be concerned about or to the extent of, don't care what they say, doesn't care a damn. And 2, wish, if you care to go. I looked at these definitions and was bothered, to say the least. We use care in the context of every form of wellness, self-care, healthcare, daycare for our children. So I couldn't bend my mind around how painstaking or watchful attention and maintenance are the third definitions. Nonetheless, since under maintenance it said, see also take care of, I clicked on that hyperlink, and definition 1 read, to attend to or provide for the needs, operation, or treatment of someone or something. He is home taking care of a sick child. Definition 2, to deal with or do something that requires effort or attention. So generally speaking, how we most commonly use care is more in alignment or more synonymous with maintenance, while the bulk of the definitions imply worry, which is not only a form of unwellness, it is the root of multiple mental health issues. So if our top 5 types of wellness are financial, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, and not necessarily in that order, how is the way we attend to our wellness referred to as care when care by definition is stress? And I know someone is saying,
Well, no, Passion, because you're doing the thing so you're not stressing over it.
and that's absolutely not what these definitions say. So I went a step further and looked up the phrase take care to see the etymology. And it was a challenge to find a straight answer. I looked on the idioms.com, merriam-webster.com, etymonline.com, and maybe 5 or 6 other sites before coming to the conclusion that the consensus seems to be the phrase originated in the mid to late 1500s and has been and can be used different ways. Not helpful. And it just didn't cut it for me, because when you get into the conversation of words having power and life and death being in the power of the tongue, and every word you speak is in effect spell casting in one way or another, using a word whose main definitions are antonymous with wellness as an instruction or description of wellness doesn't make sense to me, neither does it sit right with me. Let me paint you a picture using healthcare as the example so I don't just sound like I'm ranting, right? Quick reminder. Care is defined as suffering of mind, i.e. grief, and a disquieted state of mixed uncertainty, apprehension, and responsibility. Okay, you go to see your PCP, your primary care provider or physician, and that experience is often arriving at 9:50 for a 10 a.m. appointment at an office that opened at 9 a.m., but somehow has 15 people already sitting there when the expected visit time is generally 15 minutes, which mathematically would mean that even if you got there 10 minutes early, you shouldn't have more than 3 people ahead of you. And that's giving grace for everybody's appointment to have run over and the doctor to have run late. A grace not afforded to you because if you're late or cancel at the last minute, you're penalized and billed for costing the care provider money. And you can realistically expect your scheduled 10 o'clock appointment to not take place until somewhere between 11 and 1. But if you step out of the office for whatever reason and you're called before you return, somehow you're the problem because the doctor whose job it is to provide care, suffering of mind, i.e. grief, and a disquieted state of mixed uncertainty, apprehension, and responsibility requires time. But in order for them to meet their quotas and make their money, they can't really take the time that's required. A 10 a.m. appointment could require you to clear your schedule for the whole day so you can sit for 2 to 3 hours, then have a rushed 15-minute visit where your vitals, your blood, and your urine are taken. And before any of these things are actually analyzed, you're given 2 to 5 prescriptions that you should start immediately. Isn't it interesting that situations like that do indeed cause suffering of mind and a disquieted state of mixed uncertainty, apprehension, and responsibility? That's the definition of care, but isn't that also the antithesis of wellness and the visit if the objective is to feel better? And even for your peace to be disturbed at that level and your health to be further compromised, there's still this irrepressible requisite of time. And that's the resource we're going to examine today. All of this came up because I was thinking about the time that's required to properly maintain yourself when doing a detox. And even writing this, I thought about where the emphasis really belonged on that previous statement. The time that's required or the time that's required. The detox I was doing was 21 days, and each day had a strict regimen that you had to follow. Now, while there were adjustments that could be made to accommodate different working schedules, the intervals between capsules and the amount of water and the scheduling of the meals was pretty strictly delineated, and rightly so if the goal was to get the best results from the detox, right? But each step required its own very specific amount of time. Not only is there a tea that you have to drink daily that is ideally prepared from the night before so it can have 4 to 8 plus hours to steep. You're supposed to eat raw for as much of the detox as possible. So you need prep time to properly wash your fruits and vegetables and cut them up. Now that's expected. But it's the time you don't account for. The time spent researching meal ideas if you don't usually eat raw. The time spent soaking this and sprouting that. The time spent pivoting when you realize your planned meal doesn't work with the meal plan. The time spent running back and forth to the bathroom. 4 to 6 16-ounce bottles of water is simple enough if you already have a case or two. But if you don't, the time is the round trip commute to the store to buy the water, the time spent in store finding and paying for it, ferrying the water into the house and setting it all up for ease of access. Now, if you already drink bottles and bottles of water daily, you may already have all of this on hand. If you don't, it's time required but not accounted for that has to be found in order to be used to exact a result. Same thing if you don't buy bottles, but you filter from the tap. Depending on your filter, it may not take as long, but it still requires a few extra minutes. So if you're a heavily scheduled, every second accounted for type of person, how do you properly take care of or maintain yourself when maintenance requires time? When you're accustomed to being able to grab and go? When you're accustomed to not putting much more thought about what you're putting in your body than how it tastes? Maintenance, especially if it's not done every day, is not quick. Another example, if you're used to cleaning your house every day, you can sweep, mop, dust, and straighten up in a shorter space of time than when you're deep cleaning, right? But when you're not doing something on a regular and consistent basis, it requires that much more time. So if we go back to the definition of maintain, which is to keep in an existing state, I hope I didn't just bump this, preserve from failure or decline. How is it possible that you are properly maintaining yourself, taking care of yourself, if you are not allotting the necessary time to provide the upkeep? So many people already feel overwhelmed, like they have so many things to do, so many places to be, and not enough time in a day to complete it all. And many, or dare I say most, of the people who feel that way already aren't taking care of themselves for their optimal performance. How then do you begin to optimally maintain yourself to have optimal performance if the maintenance that's required requires time that you don't have? The first hurdle is acknowledging that if you have not been doing adequate maintenance all along, that time is a requirement, not an option. The second is being honest with yourself about what you really want and what you're really willing to give or do to get it. Time is a finite resource. There are only so many hours in a day, and rest, while it gets sacrificed too often, is essential to optimal performance. So while we think we can take from that required time to give time elsewhere, is robbing Peter to pay Paul. There's still a debt owed. The time has to be built in if the intention is to arrive at a certain level of wellness, and that's non-optional. Truth is, there are things we willingly give our time and attention to, and we don't want to cut that time short. So many of us have made the excuse that we simply don't have enough time so often, we believe it to be true. We make time to scroll, we make time to stream, and we make time to talk to the people we really want to talk to. I challenge you to have a real conversation with yourself and ask yourself, if someone took your phone away for 48 hours, how busy would you actually be?
Passion, I don't even be on my phone like that. I barely get 7 hours of sleep. I get up, get ready, drop the kids to school, race to work. I'm there all day, and then I get home and have to run a house. The only time I'm on my phone is when I'm in the bathroom, and even then, I can barely get a second because the kids are trying to bulldoze the door down to ask me for nonsense.
Fair enough, beloved. So if you don't have time to stop and do reparative work down the line, then you build the time in making better decisions now. You don't have to overhaul everything overnight, but making gradual improvements is a step in the right direction. The gym closer to your house is more convenient for every day, but the gym closer to the job might be the more productive option since you're at work 5 days a week. These are your favorite chips, but those are comparable and have better quality ingredients. If you can't make the switch overnight, can you alternate so you give your system a break sometimes? This is why I said you have to be honest with yourself about what you really want and what you're really willing to do for it. Somebody really wants to be a millionaire, but they don't want to take the time or steps to learn about vehicles to increase or manage wealth. What they really want versus the effort they're really willing to make is two different things. Bottom line is, if you really want wellness, at the very least, you have to cut back on the things that make you unwell, no matter how much you enjoy them or how much a part of your habits and routine they are. The number one component in this instance is not action, it's choice.
Wait, what? How does that even make sense?
Because the choice is ongoing before the action ever takes place. You don't have any wiggle room in your schedule, but you actively choose wellness. So where your job is too far to walk from home and you can't go to the gym, you choose to use the underdesk pedals and use those every day. You eat your heavy meal at lunch and have a smoothie for breakfast and a big salad for dinner. You use the elastic bands while you're watching your favorite podcast. You do toe lifts while washing the dishes. When there aren't extra minutes, you incorporate the activity into the thing that's getting your time. My confidant gives voice notes longer than this podcast, and 98% of them are recorded while I'm doing something else. I want to discuss the subject, so I find a way to make it happen. Find a way to make your wellness a priority. Yes, your time is probably overextended. Yes, the world offers you 1,000 distractions an hour, so your attention is divided into tinier fractions than you can quantify. And that doesn't include the job that requires your willingness and ability to have your attention called in multiple directions, while the expectation is that you'll perform as though you're focused on one thing. And even though it is actually impossible to completely focus on two things at once, you show up to life every day and give it a go, right?
So, Passion, now you're piling one more thing onto a mountain of chaos and saying create wellness out of that?
Nope. I'm saying if you are working on your wellness, on your increase, on your correction, time is not going to be given to you. It actually can't be. The only way to get more time is to remove an activity, and rest is not an option. The time that you already have has to be differently delegated, differently appropriated, differently distributed. If you don't choose to redistribute your time, the improvement is likely to be either slow going or no going. Believe it or not, the wellness is there within the chaos. You have to sift through the chaos, prioritize the wellness, then hold it in a priority position. I know it's easy to give tips, advice, and directives on how to allot time when you're talking about a fast or a detox, because the simplest instruction is to meal prep. Still requires time, but choosing a day to get the things done is one way. That didn't work that great for me, but it does for some. But what about the people like me who go to bed with a plan, wake up knowing the plan, and start moving, and then the plan goes kablooey pow pow? First, be honest with yourself about your ability to follow through on a task list that you've created for yourself. Write this down, Passionists, because this is a key right here. If you know you have 5 things to do and you want to try to adhere to a designated time frame for each thing, you can set alarms on your phone. Label each alarm. If you have a Samsung, I don't know about all Androids, but definitely if you have a Samsung, you can set it to read the label name out loud. Don't happen on Apple. That's not my business. For some, it'll work immediately and it'll be just like the bell ringing between classes in school. For others, you may hit the snooze until the next alarm goes off. But you got to start somewhere. Maybe your start is creating the list and not being so rigid about when the things have to be done. If it's that infernal pile of papers that once you finish that, you're done. Mine took about 5 years, 1,000 repetitions of that same. All I have to do is this one pile. And the ceiling to fall in, don't ask, we'll talk about it next season. To finally actually get it done. How'd I do it? I spread it out on the floor so it was no longer a neat pile. And I came back to it every day until every piece of paper was properly placed. You may not be the person who's going to complete a task that shouldn't take more than 2 hours in 2 hours. That's a real thing, and that's okay. You might be the person who needs 48 hours to finish a 2-hour job and can only get it done if you can touch some part of it for 15 minutes of this hour, touch another part of it for 1 hour a little later, 10 minutes of another hour, and then work on it for a 6-hour block and then some more tomorrow. You have to be honest with yourself about who you are and how you operate. But don't stop because it's taking long. A mess almost always takes longer to clean up than to make, but it can be cleaned up. It can be corrected. It can be fixed. In the 4 Agreements, Miguel Ruiz says the knowledge is there. It's just waiting for you to use it. The time is there. It's just waiting for you to reallocate it. Passionists, it's been a good season. We've covered good ground. I started this season in care. Suffering of mind, i.e. grief, and a disquieted state of mixed uncertainty, apprehension, and responsibility. I pushed. There were hiccups, slow-ups, and stops, but I made it. That detox did more than cleanse me internally. It cleared some internal blockages, and dust that had accumulated for God knows how long got cleaned up. That forever pile is completely addressed. Phone calls were made, documents were updated and submitted, furniture was rearranged, papers were discarded that no longer had place here, repairs that have been holding for a few years and others that were holding for a few weeks all got done with the same 24 daily hours that I've always had. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I feel like this season was the end of an era, but not the end of the pod, okay? Maybe that's why I was nesting all crazy. Maybe it's not. Hallelujah anyhow. Cheers to the progress and cheers to what's ahead. I still miss Perp. I've had some teary days and some moments that held up episodes even late into the season. I can't live in this space because I'll probably get teary all over again. He was part of the foundation and now he's a pillar, still helping to hold this up. I still haven't told the gala story. That was what was supposed to kick off this season, but life. But I have so much perspective being this far removed from the gala that I can really tell it boldly now. That in and unto itself is worthy of a sigh of relief. So as I take leave for the summer to prep for the fall and make season 9 as divine as it should be, instead of bidding you take care, I bid you farewell. I implore you to be well, and I'm going to leave you with a list of suggestions to take other than care. Take your vitamins, because health is wealth. Take advantage of the time you have and every opportunity presented to you. Take your time with your decision making. Take heed to wise counsel. Take the scenic route sometimes. Those unencumbered moments to think are priceless. Take pictures to remember the moment, but live in the moment. Love in the moment. Take a chance on yourself. Take a bow because you have accomplished so much more than you give yourself credit for. Take nothing for granted because nothing is promised and not everything is owed, even the things you feel like you're due compensation. Take a break from the ordinary because life is full and rich and has so much to offer, so you never have to be limited to mundanity, mediocrity, or redundancy. Take a load off. Whether it's for an hour or a week, lay your burdens down and live lightly. Take a day off. If they're planning on letting you go, working every day, getting there early, and giving more than your all isn't going to stop them. Take vacation regularly. Go someplace you've never been. Go do something you've never done and experience new people in a new way. Take the garbage out. Empty your mind, empty your spirit, remove people from your life that are depleting you, and empty the actual trash can, because rodents and roaches. Take the concerns of others seriously and the perspectives of others into consideration. You want to be seen, heard, and believed with compassion and respect. So do they. Take two. Sometimes you got to stop and start again. Take your shoes off at the door. Don't track external environmental filth into sacred space, literally or figuratively. Take a class, learn a new language or a skill. Take what's yours, leave what's not. Take up space. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong where you are. Take initiative. When you see a situation that could use some leadership, take charge, take control, take the reins. Take a walk. Take a bath. Take the road less traveled. Take turns. You don't always have to be in the lead and you don't always have to be at the rear. If you're Christian, take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there and let Jesus take the wheel. And if you're not necessarily Christian, the same theory applies. Talk through the thing that's troubling you, release it, and don't go picking it back up. And finally, beloveds, while we're apart, take time to rewatch this and all 7 seasons that preceded this one. Take a minute to leave a comment, click the thumbs up button, and or more and then or. Share with at least one other person. Help me help others help themselves. If you got any value out of this season, donations can be made via Linktree, PayPal, or Zelle. The links are in the description box. Also, feel free to continue to send listener letters over the summer. Trust that they will be answered, whether as a quick response or a full-length episode. Additionally, because this question was asked of me, if you ever wondered why letters get full episodes as responses, often you're not the only one wrestling with that issue. So if we really expound on it, you get the answer to your specific question, and someone else gets helped with their similar issue. And with that, Passionates, your Get You Right Guru is signing off of season 8. Y'all go forth, be great, be filled with bliss, be armed and empowered with knowledge. Don't take care, beloveds. Instead, take time for wellness. And in all things, be passionate. See you next season. Later.